I'm seeing some face I haven't seen for a long time. What's up, Michael?
Just hanging out. This is the last, right?
Yeah, that's right.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm hoping Dave's going to pull a guitar or bass or something. Maybe do some intro music or outro when we're finally done.
That'll be cool.
Pull a guitar out of my ass. Is that what I heard you say?
I was going to say the wall, but hey, wherever.
It's behind him. It looks like there's a bunch.
Yeah, this is the small room. Yeah.
Nice.
There's only 3 in here. There's another 12.
Bass guitar. I see bass guitar, acoustic guitar. Very cool.
2 acoustics.
How long have you been playing?
Oh, just 3 years.
No.
Yeah.
You make it sound like it's not good.
Oh, just 3 years. It takes 10,000 hours to get good at anything. Doesn't mean that at 9,999 you suck.
Correct. But you can play something.
Oh yeah, I can play.
You play something in 3 months, really.
Yeah.
So
I can make it sound like something. It's okay, Iris. We love your hair. It's all good. You don't have to worry about it. It looks just as good as mine. About 3 more minutes here. I hope we have enough. We only have 100 seats here, so we could run out of room. Scott, did you want to do some kind of an intro or not?
No, I don't really have an intro. Although I guess I could thank the person that has kept this going over the last year.
Well, that's been done a few times. I appreciate it, but that's probably been done enough.
I don't know. So about a year ago, other managers, we stepped down, right? We've been doing it for a while, and Dave obviously had been active this whole time, but then he took it on his own pretty much, right? And he's been going for the last year, every single week pretty much. And then even when after end of life, right? Dave kept BC Sandpile going.
That's kind of when it made the most sense.
And I guess like bookends, right? We have Dave who's finishing it out, and Adam Z just walked in the door, the man who started it all.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good. Yeah, it's like old school, right? How we used to do it. You were like in your closet one time, weren't you? Like when there was a tornado?
Yeah, there was a tornado and I ducked in my closet, but that's how committed to the group I was at that point. So.
Adam Z, did you think it would go this long?
No, of course not. I don't know that anybody did. And I mean, talk about just an amazing thing when you think about the community. I mean, if you think about what might have, well, if you think about what was accomplished versus what probably would not have changed because of the group, I would say that the group helped make the product a little bit better. But man, what friendships did we make? I mean, we all learned. Some of us developed really cool apps in BC. Some of us created business models. Some of us built really great websites for our clients, but I think it was really a cool experience from the beginning.
Agreed, for sure. It's been just an incredible resource for me, for sure. So, and just before we get started, I will say there is a slim possibility it might not be over. There's a small group of people that want to keep it going in some way, shape, or form. They're just working out the details, really. So what I committed to do was kind of send one more email out to the group to say, hey, if you're still interested, here's what this could look like going forward, if they decide to go forward with it. So, was
that one of the famous Dave teasers?
It was one of the famous Dave teasers. Yeah, it's like a CSI Miami episode. You never know when it's over.
I'd be happy to donate a
Well,
Zoom account
Sandpile
to
not
anyone
in.
who wants to take that on.
That's good.
Sorry, what was that, Adam?
Dave, I'd be happy to provide the Zoom account. If somebody wants to use Zoom, we can put that on our account and they can use it however they want.
Nice, thanks, Adam. I'll make a note of that and pass that on.
There's a lot of people there.
And I will say, if anybody else is interested in participating, presenter-wise or organization-wise, if they want to shoot me an email at daveh@chicagodigital.com, I will send that on to the folks that are looking to see if they want to carry on. I don't know who...
Oh, it's Alex Lagolnik's there.
Whose mic is on there? Is that Penny? No?
I think that might be Mary.
It's always Mary.
Yeah, it's Mary.
Mary. There. No, she's muted now. Okay. Let me find you here, Adam, and make you a presenter here.
From Adam Z to Adam B.
Yeah. He's who are you logged in as, Adam?
Community something.
Yeah, it's
Actually,
not showing
Adam's
up.
just logged out. He's logging back in, guys. So we'll be back.
That'll do it.
There's Colin here. Yep.
Is that Colin Frost?
It is Colin Frost.
It
Yeah.
is.
The famous Colin Frost?
How are you, everyone? I'm actually actually, I might not be able to say. Okay. We have some surprises.
You're on the loo.
Nice. Well, I will say for those that are here already, thank you very much for showing up for what ostensibly is the last Sandpile. It's
Could we switch the recording on?
It's already on. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
Yeah.
it looks off here. So.
That's okay. No, we have your hair and your
If you want to talk, just ask. I mean, you don't have to interrupt everybody. Just, oh, hey, did we start the recording? Oh, anybody else need a drink right now? Come on, Ursh. We know you went out.
That's right. Super cool. So yeah, it's nice to see some original faces. Lots of faces I haven't seen in a long time, and some of the originals here for sure. Going forward, today this is really largely going to be about Siteglide and Platform-OS, but we did want to take this opportunity to just to recognize the community and the benefit it's been to everybody. Some of the original founders have shown up, which is just fabulous. Thanks, Adam, and thanks Scott, Penny, and Ursh, who had the bulk of the work for so many years, and even Adam Broadway for his invention of Business Catalyst, if you will. I guess I'll give him that kind of credit. There he is. Let me just make you a presenter there, Adam. Make a co-host. All right, Adam Broadway, you should be a co-host now. So if anybody has any, I shouldn't say anybody, if someone has some words they'd like to say before we get going with the Siteglide Platform-OS, now is your opportunity.
Ursh, he's talking to you.
I was going to say besides Ursh, because she's already said her fill. So cool. All right, Adam Broadway, if you're ready, then go ahead, and if there's time at the end, we can always chat some more then.
You need to pass Adam the stick.
Right, yeah. I think you have, and this new fandangled technology is kind of daunting when I first tried it. Hang on, no, I've gotten the hang of it now. Hey, everybody. Great to see so many familiar faces and names. It has been a long journey. The journey's not over. We've still got 2.5 years before officially the data centers are shut down. In the meantime, there's a lot of amazing solutions that are coming out of the woodwork. I think partners have had their eyes open to progression that the web has made, and the direction that it's going in isn't just browser-based, it's app-based and IoT and blockchain and all those cool buzzwords that you'll see thrown around. And we're really excited to be sort of on the cutting edge of that with Platform-OS. And before we get there, let's share the screen. I dug up a couple of albums from not so long ago. I don't know, can you see my screen there? Got some familiar faces in here. Now, I want you to imagine Barbara Streisand singing that song. It's got words memories in it, watercolored misty memories. I can't remember the exact words, but in here is some albums, and I think you'll remember a lot of the faces there. you know, Caesar, the guys from Denmark, Peter and John, that's right. Now that's one of the Romanian guys. Remember Danny Beaumont in the background there? Who else have we got? I mean, we got, oh, look, Danny and Jason. We've got so many familiar faces in here. This album is available, so if you want to go back down memory lane, feel free. There was Scott and the crew. I'm actually heading over to Bucharest shortly in September, so I'll be seeing a few familiar faces over there when I visit, and I'll send on everyone's regards for sure. But it's been an amazing journey, and I think we've made a lot of great friends. We've learned a lot. We've built our businesses off the back of it, and I think everybody knows it's because of the community that Business Catalyst was a success. I've said it before. Bardia Houseman, my co-founder, of course, we both agreed that if it wasn't for the community, we'd have a different business model. And I really do still believe that Adobe has recognized the value of the community and the way it could have exploded. And instead of spending the money they did with Magento, they could have built a better BC. They could have built Platform-OS inside Adobe and we wouldn't be having this conversation. But anyway, we are here where we are. I remember working shoulder to shoulder with Bardia in a little cupboard. It was literally a cupboard. That's all we could afford. $50 a week. We were subletting a cupboard where we both shoulder to shoulder. I'm on the back end, servers, database, all of that. He's on the front end, .NET code. And this guy kept wandering past, hearing us. And this guy was so excited about what we're doing. He said, look, is there a job opportunity for me? And your number one employee, Colin Frost, and he's in the room, of course, somewhere in the Zoom room, right next to me. So Colin's here in San Francisco. That's why I had to nudge him and say, hey, don't say too much. But Colin's right next to me. And it's great to have the band back together, literally. We were playing guitar earlier. We get a few of you to come along and jam with us at some point at the first Platform-OS DevCon. So Platform-OS, of course, is what we've been building in the 4 years since I left Adobe, and the whole idea around multi-vendor e-commerce, whether it's for products or services, building your own Facebook, as Intel have done. With DevMesh, we wanted to make sure we built an enterprise-grade platform that brands like Intel, like Hallmark, who also have a community site that's their own Hallmark-branded Facebook, if you like, brands like Spark.co.nz, the largest telco in New Zealand, that has built 6 marketplaces on our platform and another 6 to go, and they're getting into products as well in the future. E-commerce, really complex e-commerce, where you have vendors from all over Australia, and you need to be able to pay the vendor and take a commission along the way, as well as have refunds and cancellation fees, and then logistics with Australia Post or other third-party delivery pickup and return services. So really complex solutions that were needed to be figured out. And that's what we've been doing with Platform-OS. Focus on making sure we're on the cutting edge of everything for SEO and for things like being Google AMP compliant, focused on performance, and really focused on the technical API end of things, because it's not just going to be a web page. It's going to be an application that people are going to want to move to. It's going to be an IoT device. It's going to be a blockchain powered something. So being able to add those sorts of protocols in over time. So we've proven out ourselves as being able to work with the high-end brands. And we've also been able to very quickly in the last few months ensure that our documentation is being updated and very regularly updated, so that those who are amongst us that want to jump into the nitty-gritty of how Platform-OS is built can build their own SaaS businesses on the platform. And that's exactly what we've seen happen with a number of partners, CBO, and Siteglide. I mentioned CBO, they're working at the mid to high end clients, rolled out a national identity background checking service built on Platform-OS very quickly, building a learning management system on us as well. And between CBO and Siteglide, who we're going to introduce their solution in just a moment with Luke, they've actually closed over $500,000 worth of business on Platform-OS in the last 3 months. That's not too bad. And that's the sort of caliber of clients that they're now able to work with. That's not to say that we're not also built for landing page sites and more simplified sites, and being able to cater for clients that have got a number of web apps, but they're just lower usage. So without further ado, I want to introduce Luke and just officially endorse the partners that we have. We have quite a number of partners that have joined. The platform has been built on top of by Siteglide, and what Luke will take you through is an overview of what they've been able to achieve in a short space of time. And there's so much more coming down the pipe. Very familiar functionality, but importantly, what they've built isn't just a closed SaaS product. They're giving you full creative access and freedom to all of the Platform-OS functionality so that you can add CRM, accounting, learning management systems, build your own modules, sell those modules, participate in the template market, the whole thing. But we'll focus now on what Luke and their team have built. And Luke, do you want to take over here if you've got access? I'm guessing that Dave, you might need to give that.
I made him a co-host already, so he should be good.
Oh, perfect. There we go. So over to you, Luke, to show everybody what you've built in a very short space of time.
Thanks, Adam. Right, how do I share? Let's give that a go. Is that loading up okay?
Seems to be good. I see your presentation there, yeah.
Cool. Good. Well, yeah, firstly, thank you, Dave and Scott, for organising this and inviting us to be able to show you what we've been up to. And yeah, hopefully BC Sandpile will continue, and the community will be able to keep helping each other, because it's been it is what's made BC, as Adam said many times. So for those of you that don't know us, we're a UK-based BC partner. We partnered BC in 2009, just before Adobe bought them out, actually. And like many partners, we kind of built our business around BC, and we built over 100 sites that were often trying to push BC beyond its limits. So it had some incredible functionality, but there were lots of things that you had to kind of do some workarounds for, or you had to maybe extend upon. So then, obviously, the big question after the end of life announcement in March was what can replace it, especially for the really big sites, or the ones that use a wide range of tools such as web apps, secure zones, e-commerce, and email marketing. And hoping today we can introduce what we believe is the answer, which is Siteglide coupled with Platform-OS. So I'm going to try and keep this as brief as I possibly can, so that we have a good amount of time for questions and just go over anything again, perhaps, or show you a bit more. So I'll quickly explain what Siteglide is, who we are, and how it works with Platform-OS. And then I'll cover sort of some of the main benefits for BC partners and agencies. And then finally, the all-important sort of migration question of how you would actually migrate sites across. We'll do a demo. I'll show you the main features that are probably quite relevant at this stage, and then show you the next steps of how you could become a beta tester or find out more about Siteglide. So yeah, and I think Adam, hopefully you're going to jump in and help me out on some of the Platform-OS elements, or if you think there's something.
Yeah, for sure. We can tag team as you need, and depending on people, if people want to ask questions as we go, maybe they can be fielded along the way. So I think maybe we have the chat that's usually used, and we can refer to that as we go.
How do I keep that open? Do shout if I'm not seeing it, because I can't see the chat at the moment. Yeah, okay. So I thought I'd quickly show this. I don't know how much people have seen. Some people have maybe seen some of the POS town halls that have been going on. This is a diagram that we have, and it's sort of our vision of the Siteglide ecosystem, effectively, where development and marketing agencies have all the tools and support they need to be able to deliver SME and enterprise level solutions to clients. So scaling up from a landing page all the way up to a complex application or website or even marketplace and community. So there's quite a lot of tools that we plan to build in the future. That's like the exciting bit really in terms of what can be built, but there's some core elements that have to be there and for it to be able to offer the core things that Business Catalyst did. And then there's some core support and services that we're always going to make available as well. So I think now's a good time to explain sort of why we picked Platform-OS. It's an incredibly flexible platform that uses a sort of modern API approach to mean that you can just build pretty much anything and make it extremely scalable thanks to the core hosting environment that it's on, but also the way that they've gone about building it and making it extremely just customizable and accessible through some of the languages and just the way it's built. So we've noticed that straight away, and what is it? So 4 months ago, started working as quickly as we could really to understand it, and then try and build some of the things we'd already been building on top of BC. So we'd actually been building kind of a CM, like a UI on top anyway for the last couple of years. We took that concept and built something as quick as we could and made sure it's scalable at the same time, and worked with the team really closely. And that's something I'd like to say is how great it is to work with a team that just is so responsive. And if you present a problem or something you can't do, it's solutions that you get and answers rather than I'm sorry, but the platform doesn't do this, which I think we've probably all experienced a little bit over the years with Adobe. Yeah, so I think what we would try to make sure is, as Adam just said, we don't build a piece of software on top that's a set way of working. It only does a few things, and it really would completely ruin the whole point of Platform-OS. It had to be something open and something that complements Platform-OS rather than just it goes off at a tangent and offers this probably a piece of software that there's hundreds of already. There's loads of content management systems out there, and that's not what we're trying to achieve. We've got to put a name on it in terms of what it is to start with, and I think that's the core thing that it needs to be to replace BC to start with. But where it gets really exciting is what can be done afterwards, and how you can really tap into the power of Platform-OS. So I just wanted to explain the infrastructure of that very quickly, if I can, because I think that's quite important. So if I just move on here. So essentially, Siteglide is a graphical user interface. It's not a platform. It's not a CMS as such. It's not the functionality. It's the way that you interact with Platform-OS. So it's a UI plus an API to interact with each instance separately. So you'd be able to, you can log in and connect to any of your sites that you manage or build for clients, and use the UI to build new things. So we've got features such as all the core things you'd expect from Business Catalyst. So pages, templates, web apps, forms, secure zones, a nice visual editor. All of those are available in the UI, but they're not a set way of using Platform-OS, or they're not dependent. You're not dependent on those for your website to run, which I think is quite an important point for future-proofing and making sure that you can always scale up and use all the benefits of Platform-OS. and you would have full access to the Platform-OS instances as well if you wanted to do some of the more technical work. So this is where we see the really exciting bit is not just building a replacement for BC, but once we've done the core features that have to be there, it's what can it be on top of that? How can we really tap into the real power of Platform-OS, but make it more accessible in a UI for people to build new things? And the more we can offer those kind of modules and elements that you can work with, I think we'll see the community building some really awesome things, hopefully. So I wanted to explain that because it is not a traditional CMS where the way it works defines what you can build. Feel free to jump in if there are any questions, or we can go through any more at the end. And Adam, is there anything you wanted to add on that? Or?
Yeah, I'm busting for the demo.
Okay, sure. I'll speed up. Just very quickly, I thought I'd just show you a couple of agency benefits. So I won't read them all out. There's some things that I think the most important thing to point out is that there's no risk to BC partners. We've all paid the BC partner fees, and we don't want to do that again. And we don't want to ask anybody to. So there'll be no partner sign-up fee or anything like that. You'll be able to use trial accounts on staging accounts on Platform-OS through Siteglide or not, and use all of the features. And then obviously when you want to put a site live, that's when a license fee or hosting fee comes in. So that's probably one of the main features to point out. And that, yeah, you get full access and you get hopefully all the things from BC, but without the limitations. I also want to point out that there is a really strong community already. I'm sure the other guys will touch on this, but Adam and Scott are doing an awesome job of kind of
Adam Cook, just for clarification.
Cook, yeah,
I'm not doing an awesome job.
Yeah, like we've got these town hall meetings similar to Sandpile every week, and everyone's just kind of working together, and the community's evolving very, very quickly. And as solutions like ours and CBOs come available, I think you'll see that happen even more. Anyway, I'm going to be told to hurry up again, I think. So just very quickly on migrations, it's obviously a big topic for partners, and it is a concern, especially on the bigger, more complex sites. So there's not going to be a magical one-click transfer for big sites. It's just not going to happen. I think you can maybe on some of the smaller sites across to some of the simpler platforms. But what we've done is made sure that the UI is familiar. You can quickly copy across many of the standard things. You've got the languages available to you that you'd expect, like Liquid, to help with the more dynamic sites. And you'll feel pretty at home, which you'll see in a minute in the demo. And then one important point to mention is our web app import tool. We've demoed a very rough copy of that within a couple of weeks of working with Adam, and we're continuing to build that out to be a proper app to copy web apps across from BC. So you get a list of your BC web apps, and it will copy across structure and content as well, and items. So
that's something that jumped out at me. Within 2 weeks of you guys starting on Platform-OS, you'd built a web app import routine. I think we demonstrated that in the Sandpile at one point, and that was months ago. So the progress since has been pretty amazing. I think also Scott Reynolds showed a cut and paste of a BC web form straight into Platform-OS as well, which just triggered workflows. So I'm impressed.
We did a lot of work on the BC APIs, so we could actually access the web app data quite easily. We just then had to do the Platform-OS side. So yeah, we'll be doing more and more on that, and minimizing the migration as much as possible for people. But there will be some manual work, whatever system it is. And we are there to help if people need some extra technical assistance or would prefer not to do some of the migration work. Right, onto the demo, the important bit. There's eight elements I'd really like to focus on. I'm just going to jump straight into them. But the first one is we put together a demo account, which is actually the beta account for partners. So if you sign up for a beta account, you get a copy of this essentially, which is a just a responsive Bootstrap-based site that we've put together, which has kind of the core features built in, so forms, menus, web apps, that kind of stuff that you'd see. I can see there's quite a lot going on in the chat. Do I need to answer any of those?
No, you're okay for now, I think.
Cool.
I'm keeping an eye on it. You mentioned
Cool.
Bootstrap, though, Luke. What about Foundation, Node.js, React?
Good question.
All other front
So
frameworks?
you can, because we're not limiting anything, you have full access to the code, to use whatever code base you want. We tend to use Bootstrap, and we've built that in to start with, but I'm sure there'll be people building in Foundation as a framework and templates or layouts, as well as using React, Vue, Angular. We do that all the time. In fact, our UI is built in React, so there's no limitation in terms of what you can build in framework wise. We'll see how it develops in terms of the modular or extension side of offering side of it. So whether people create templates, we tend to believe that layouts and sections is a better way to go. It makes it more modular rather than having these kind of set templates, but that's something you have total control over if you want to. So yeah, this is a demo site. You would then, let me just quickly log out. I should have done at the beginning. So you then, for any site, be able to go to the Siteglide admin and just log in. And then because it's all API based, you'll see that you get a list of sites. So any sites that you built for clients through your partner portal, which Adam's handling that side of Platform-OS, you'd then be able to log in to any of the sites that you control. And there'll be there's dashboards and things, but for now I'm just sort of keeping it simple and focusing on the main core features. So pages is quite a obvious place to start. What I'm going to show you first is menus. So actually no, just a quick tour of the kind of navigation and the UI itself. So obviously there'll be dashboard. Then under CMS you've got the core features that probably are quite familiar from BC. These can be moved around, but this is what we've suggested. You'd have web apps, where you'd be able to create new web apps. Then includes, they can be specific things like code snippets or certain areas of the site. Modules are not, so in BC they were quite limited and they were separate to web apps, when actually they could easily have been built the web app way and be more flexible. So these are web apps. We've just given them a unique kind of UI, or they're slightly different to a standard web app. So blog has its own unique elements about it. So we'll provide these. There'll be more and more becoming available, and other people could contribute to these as well.
I'd just like to highlight that point to Luke, the contribution. Yeah. A lot of people in our community have been asking about how their IP might get protected, so that others don't just steal their code and search and replace a few words and then sell it as their own. We have the concept of public and private folders, where private folders can have an entire application built within it, with every bit of code, views, partials, graph queries, API logic, etc., which can then be run on a particular site instance. So imagine in the modules being able to search the community for a particular piece of functionality, and it may be free or paid or subscription. And so it's an opportunity even within the Siteglide community to tap into the Platform-OS partner modules. And so what we're wanting to do is disseminate templates, functionality, features, modules, public and private, so that you can protect your IP and monetize as well all of your hard work. So that's just to extend on what Luke was alluding to there with the module feature.
And that's one of the things we're most excited about, is where can we take this with the Platform-OS community. I think there's so much opportunity for things to be built and added, and ideas we can't even think of at the moment. So and then finally we've got sort of site manager, some sort of general things down here. which again, this will be expanded upon, but for now we put in the kind of main things that you would sort of expect. So you can, there's some just general sort of UI things. You can close that down if you want a bit more space. I don't know how to get rid of this one on this side. And you've got sort of user settings, a link to the front end of the site, and also a link to the docs. I'll just quickly show you that. Sorry, just 1 second. So we've released some docs to help sort of find your way around and how to use the platform. So I'll mention that before I forget. This will be helpful if you're using a beta, doing some beta testing. You can sort of work out how to use forms and that kind of stuff. We've done some videos on them. Yeah, we also have intercom built in, so we can help. You can sort of ask any questions and discuss things on here as well. That'd be for partners. So I'll quickly run through a couple of features, if that's okay. I think the first one to show would be menu builder. So if we go to the back to the front end, you'll see there's a menu in there. You can build as many menus as you want, and then you just go in and edit those menus. So it's a drag and drop kind of tools. So you might say that actually I don't want the blog in there anymore, services. And then if you want to, you could put another new page in and just change the name of that. So I will actually put just the blog back in and save that. And that will update here. And if obviously then you wanted to move them around, or you wanted to drop them inside one another, you can do all of that. It's just drag and drop and save that. That just updates. You've got full control over the code and the design and how everything works. It's just for now I'm going to keep it simple and show the main features. So the next one I'd like to show, and do jump in, Adam, if there's anything.
I will jump in. Hanan Wilson has got his hand up. There's a question there. Do you want to use the chat, Hanan, or just to pop in your question? Or unless you've put your hand up accidentally. You want to use the chat? Okay. Okay. I'm going to lower your hand for you.
Yeah.
All right. So that wasn't me, but I have a question if we're going to pause. So you have the chat, right, in the bottom right-hand corner?
Yep.
So that's only for partners. So if you're a partner and you're working on one of your customer sites, that will be there, and I could like contact one of your support people like on the fly.
Yeah, we're very open to discussing how to run support with partners. I imagine that that's the best way to do it, but some partners might want to offer it out to customers as well, but we're imagining it would be partner-based. Yeah.
That was actually going to be my question. So that's a pretty cool feature, right? So would partners be able to do that with their customers? So the answer is maybe, or it could happen.
Yeah, it just needs some discussion and thought in terms of how people want to work. So yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, lots of options. We really want to be, something I should have said, really, we really want to be community-led. So I'll show it now very quickly. This top bar's in the way. How do we get there? Okay. So I mentioned that we've got a community. I'll come back to this at the end, but we're making sure that our roadmap and everything is very kind of community focused. So you'll see here that we really want people to give feedback, and we really want to develop Siteglide to be what the community wants. And we're a BC partner, we kind of know, but obviously the more feedback and input we get, the better. So we'd love to hear ideas on that and develop it the right way. Cool. I'll carry on with a few bits for now, but we can always jump back into any revisiting some bits if there are any questions. So I think the next one to probably show would be forms. So I'm just gonna pop over to here. So you can create as many forms as you want, a bit like menus and web apps. I'll show you that shortly. So you just go create a form, And we'll just put in phone as a field and message. For now, we've just got a couple of field types. Obviously, that will be expanded upon to whatever's possible, whatever we can think of, really. Drop downs, that kind of stuff, and based on feedback. So you build your form. That puts the form into here. If you want to, you can then actually customize the look of the form. So it builds everything automatically for you in Platform-OS, but then you can just go in and edit it, and you just got standard HTML and liquid that you can edit. But you don't have to. That's all pre-built, and it would match the styling that you've already got set up. So if we come back out of that, what you then want to do is put it into a page. So we just go to pages, go to the contact page. You'll see on pages you've got sort of standard just information settings, SEO data, that kind of stuff. We just hide that quickly. You then get to the main kind of page, how you create the page and put the content in. You'll notice we haven't got a WYSIWYG editor yet. We've always had a kind of USP, I guess, as a phrase, which is splitting content from code. And WYSIWYG is actually a bit of an issue on that, because often it can break code quite easily. And before you know it, you built this lovely site that then has been sort of ruined because of poor editors. So we're trying to keep...
put a caveat about that WYSIWYG editor? The end customer, the site owner, has WYSIWYG editing control, correct?
Well, better than that, hopefully, which I'll show you now. I'll come on to that in a second, actually. But yes, the end customer would not have to touch code at all. But at the same time, they can't break code by using a WYSIWYG editor. So I'll show that in just a second. But here, for now, we're building this for agencies and BC partners to build out sites quickly and easily. So we just built that form. I had one in there already, but let's just take that out quickly and reload that page. So on the contact page, we've just got a banner and the Google Maps at the moment. So then we're going to just use the toolbox. So you're probably familiar with the toolbox from BC. We wanted to take that concept, but really expand upon it and improve it. So anything that you can build, you can essentially then insert into pages, templates, whatever it might be. So we've got insert form here. It'll list all the forms, put the new one in, and you just click that, and that writes all the code for you to insert that form into the page. So then you just click save. You could move it around. Let's put it above the map quickly. And hit save again, and then refresh that page. So that's now dropped that form in, and as I said, you could go back to the edit the code area, and you could just completely style it or change the content. If we quickly just fill that in. Just do that, put a number in there. Message and fill that in. You'll be able to do things like thank you pages and style exactly how you want that to work. But for now, if we just go back to the forms, you can go to that specific form rather than clicking the pencil to edit it. You can come in here and you'll actually see submissions. So that's the one I've just submitted, and then you can go into that and see the data about it. This is where we will want far more input from partners in terms of how they want that to work. Obviously, this is like cases from BC, but we would end up doing CRMs that you can go straight to the user list and then find cases. So the hard part is building the forms. It's actually much easier to look at how we display them and advance the UI. So we're very open to ideas on that, and making sure that we create the right kind of user interface for both partners and end customers.
And this goes back also to the module functionality, where being able to pull in functionality or a CRM UI that's specific to an industry, where I need my forms to be specific to lawyers or plumbers or builders or bakers or candlestick makers. Someone may already have forms created and may already have a UI in CRM and workflows, that already adhere to a good user experience for that kind of client. And stuff I've seen from the Siteglide team for the clients that they're building for already in terms of CRM, which has been customized CRM, has been pretty awesome. So yeah, I'm looking forward. And of course, you're not showing every feature right now in this session. You're waiting for those beta signups because there's certain things that are only shown to those who sign up for your beta program, right?
Yeah, and we'd love to show some of the client work we're doing, but obviously, unfortunately, that's under NDA, so can't show too much of that yet. Yeah, so that was forms. Hopefully, that gives a good taste of what you can do and how quick and easy it is to just create and insert into pages using the toolbox. So the next one would be covering Adam's question about the sort of editing and making sure that there's easy editing for the customer. So if we just go to the about page as an example, and we go and have a look at that at the front end as well. So we really focus on splitting a site and pages up into sections. So we call them content sections, just because typically nowadays you find that there's strips that you can split content up into. And what that does is it helps you structure the page, reuse content later, make it a little bit more dynamic, but it also makes it incredibly easy to use for the client. So you'll see here that you've actually just got loads of content sections. That's what the page is made up of, and a couple of web apps in there, which we'll come back to. In fact, I'm going to remove that one just for now. But from a customer's perspective, rather than having to come in here and then go and find the content section and try and edit code, or maybe in a WYSIWYG editor, all they have to do is come to the front end, and if they're logged in, it'll know, and it'll just provide this pencil. So they can just click the pencil and just start editing content right on the page, and use the standard kind of formatting so they can update and put links on. So then you just save that, and that would update. A couple of things on this. So if we have a look at this section, for example, this is just a static content section. You'll see that they can edit, but they can't kind of break. They can't go over onto another row or anything like that, because the visual editor only lets them edit the content within elements. So you build your HTML and you structure it how you want it to work, and then all they can edit is the content. So if we just update that and save it, and we now go to that content section. So from here, you'll get an idea, a bit like BC, where you've got to then work out exactly where that is. But that's actually a content section called About Meet the Team Members. So we just go off there quickly.
And Luke, weren't you guys also having an option on the WYSIWYG editor for if it's an admin user that's logged in? There's the pencil editor, but there's also a link that goes straight back into the admin to that content area or that web app. I think
yes, there would be. Yeah, there would be for web apps for the client as well. But yes, we could put more rules on that if needs be. Again, with feedback, we could determine whether we need different rules. But yeah, you definitely link back to the admin as well. So if I just jump into here, you'll see that firstly, that's just literally updated that H4 tag, so it's only edited the content and not broken anything. But you'll probably also notice if you've used anything like ICE or other context editing before, that you normally have to add data attributes and area editable, that kind of stuff, and you just don't have to do any of that at all with our visual editor. It just works out of the box because it just reads the elements.
You mean so really clean code?
Yeah. So you just write good code, and then the client just edits the content within that code. And if you then decided that you didn't want a certain thing to be there, or you wanted that to be an H5, you just update it in the item in the code, and then they just edit the content again. You've defined what that looks like and how that works.
What about dynamic data being injected onto that instead? Or am I preempting what
That's a good question. That's a good question. I'll show you that on web apps in a second, if that's all right. And yeah, there's quite a lot that can be done with dynamic tags or liquid tags and things. So that's probably a good time to jump across to that. Let me just remind myself. I'll come back to that if that's all right, Adam, on the dynamic side. Hopefully. So what was I going to do next? So I'll just quickly run through File Manager, and then we'll jump back to that dynamic question. So File Manager is hopefully a big improvement on the BC one. There were some real limitations with that, but we will expand upon this as well. There'll be folder structures and all sorts of things, but for now you can filter, so you can filter down really quickly. You can upload in bulk just by sort of clicking here and taking you off to your folder structure. And then you can manage different types. So that would be for images, PDFs or documents, all your CSS files, and JavaScript as well. So that then, once you've uploaded, so if you were doing a migration, you'd FTP down from BC, you'd upload in bulk to here, and then those files and assets would be accessible anywhere. So if you're in a web app item, you'd then have those images accessible to you. Very quick example of that, if we just go and have a look. We go to company information. This is a kind of web app, if you like, that we used to build in BC and we thought would be useful. So this is just global data that you'd want to use throughout the site. You put the name in, and then that is the file manager items that you'd be able to pick from. So if you've uploaded loads of imagery, then they're accessible everywhere. And you just update your logo and that would change everywhere. So that's file manager. Just very quickly. So I'll give you a quick example of a module. So we've got the blog module. I've just created a couple of posts in here in my test account that you'd be able to do in your beta test account as well. And they just appear on the blog page. Sorry, I was in the editor. You just see your items here. Obviously we can then expand. You can do whatever you want with this. You could add in more functionality or categorize everything. We'll be expanding on that as well as part of our roadmap. So you'll be able to edit those posts in here. But we're just going to look at web apps instead for now. So for web apps, it was such a big feature of BC, one of the ones we used the most. We used it to build pretty much everything. We wanted to make sure we at least replicated that, if not, well, definitely make it far more flexible and more powerful thanks to Platform-OS. So you'll see here back on the About page that we've got this static area here. That was a content section that I showed you and we edited. And then just below it, there's one that looks very similar, but this is actually web app driven. So you'd be able to go into the team web app and create a new item. Just put a name in there. And you just need to put a description, let's say. Pick a profile image. This is just from the file manager that we just looked at. I'll put that in, and role is not very inventive, I know. And then you just save that. So that's creating and editing web app items. That just adds them to that list within that web app. And then that will output them automatically onto here. Obviously there's sorting and all sorts of filtering that we will look at and add in as well. But for now, that's what you end up with. And that's fine. And if you had 6, it would look good, but for 4, that doesn't look so great. So then you might actually want to go and edit the layout itself and change the design of it. So if we just jump back here, you would then use something called code editor. So we built code editor for partners that maybe don't want to use their own IDE or use a Git-based way of developing. It also has some benefits in that there's tags in there that are available to you, but everyone is welcome to use direct access and connection to Platform-OS, which I think many partners are already doing, or you could do over time. There's no, it's not that you either are using Siteglide or Platform-OS. You can use both, either, or change. So if we just quickly, I'll just show you how to quickly edit that in our code editor. So it's kind of self-explanatory, sort of find the thing that you're looking for. So layouts, web apps, team, and then for now it's a list view. It's called number 6. So this is the list view that runs that web app. And what I mentioned about some extra things that help you, those are dynamically outputting all the fields available for that web app. So where it was showing a column, it was showing 3 in a row, just using standard Bootstrap or Foundation, you just change that to be 3 rows, 3 columns, sorry, out of 12, and then just hit save. And that's just gonna go and update that layout. So there's just now 4 in a row. And obviously if you then didn't want the role, you could just completely remove that row and save that. And that would disappear as well. So you've got full control over the layouts and how everything looks and how everything works. One last thing I was going to show very quickly, and then move on to some questions, would be creating a web app. So you can go to the create button, and let's say we wanted to do testimonials. Then do name. Again, same with forms and whatever else we're looking at. You'd be able to create more field types very soon. We're just adding them in gradually and getting feedback. So put that in, put those in there. We actually have a preset list of fields that you could include, but you don't have to. And you can create that web app. And then that web app's built, and then you can just create items, and it's obviously put in the fields that you've done. So and I think just for now you have to put in the URL, but and that would create that item. So we just refresh quickly. So you've now got the testimonials web app, and I don't think I created that one. But yeah, so you can, as you've seen in the team one, you can manage building all the web apps and creating of items, and then outputting them on the page as well. So you have total control over everything. I think that covers those main bits. Do you think anything there, Alan, that rushed over or you think missed?
Just on mute. No, I think the story's been well told, and of course everybody that joins your beta program will see a lot more detail and have access to some things that you haven't gone into and shown just yet. But I think the important thing to note is the speed at which the Siteglide team have built some incredible user experience and hooking in to our APIs. As Luke mentioned, our team are hand in glove with theirs. As with all of those in the partner channel at Platform-OS, we don't discriminate. Those who are building on Platform-OS get a superb support from our team directly. I don't get in the middle of conversations with our engineers, with end customers and partners, because it just creates more friction and frustration. So we don't have a layer of support, if you like. So we want to make sure that communication exists from engineer to engineer. And that's why things have happened so quickly. The Siteglide team have been exemplary in terms of their awesome code quality as well. So what you've seen built here is turned around very quickly. And yeah, I'm just so excited for what they're building. And as Luke has mentioned, CBO and others are also building, but what we're saying is that we're endorsing Siteglide 100% in what they've done and continue to do. And we support them in as much as they're supporting you. And we will also be supporting you, the community, as well. So we're pretty excited. The e-commerce questions coming up. We've got AU pricing coming as well. Yes, SFTP has been asked. We don't we don't work with SFTP. You don't need to. The file management functionality of drag and drop inside the browser is well catered for. We also use best practice with version control systems so that when assets for a site are uploaded, we need to make sure that all the CSS and liquid pages, etc., are properly versioned so you can roll back easily in a much more up-to-date way that the web is developed now. So file management through drag and drop is there. Just will note that if you had the need to upload, or I had a client site like Intel's Dev Mesh community where you're getting hundreds of thousands of image uploads per minute, large files, they will be processed within seconds. So our infrastructure has been built to scale to the degree of demand needed to handle file uploads. You don't need to worry about SFTP and those sort of clunky older technologies that are disappearing in the web development space anyway. So UI interfaces like what Siteglide are building for drag and drop capability is the future. Well, it's here now. So we're not going to deal with SFTP.
Yeah, great. I just remembered I didn't answer your dynamic question. I was going to do that very quickly if we've got time. And then I had a couple of links to show people in terms of the next steps. But you asked about whether you can insert dynamic tags. So you'll see here that the way we're outputting that, in fact, I don't think I even showed how to do that. So using the toolbox, you can, on any page, just insert a web app. So if we quickly just go off to a new page, we go to services, let's say. At the moment, we don't have any web apps on there. So we'll just insert a web app. You can just click that button. Any web apps that you've got will just appear. Let's say we want to insert the team and you pick a layout. So that will insert exactly the same items with the same layout as we had before, but it will look slightly different to, so the about one is this one here with London office. And then if you go to services, which I can remove from the menu. See down here, it's put them in again, but without the title. And that's because in the layout for that, sorry, you'll see that for the H2, for the title, we're using a variable. So we've just typed in any variable. You can write whatever you want, just using a liquid tag. So I called it title section. And then in the page, we just literally type that in and then put some text in there. So you could take all of this. This will be available in the toolbox very soon. So it would ask you whether you want those fields. And you just go to your, oh, sorry, we're here, into the services one, drop that in and go New York office. So that's now using the same web app with the same layout, but different content based on a variable that you've just built yourself, like without having to define anything really. So there's a lot of scope there for being able to do far more complex and dynamic things with Liquid without even touching GraphQL. And there's some WYSIWYG overlays that are being built actually as well, again, around the concept of modules, public and private modules, to make that editing of, rather than using the editor, it can read all of the elements and then display it, much like your Duda and Umbraco type UIs that are out there, where it takes away the creation of the code to a degree. So they're just add-ons that are going to be built. We're not interested in focusing in on those ourselves, because we're focused on the core backend APIs and scaling and all of that stuff. So yeah, we'll see Siteglide and others build even more GUIs over the top. Yeah. So I think the last bit I had was some next steps in terms of some links that would be relevant. I think I could talk for a lot longer and go into detail, but some of you guys have seen all of our community and some of our information. So I thought it would be good to give you some links, and then everyone can kind of get the right information that they need, and then we can maybe run through questions. I've got a feeling that quite a lot of the questions I can answer or start to answer by referring people to the roadmap. We're having a quick look at that. So firstly, there's this page that Adam showed at the very beginning. So I'll make sure that's available for everybody. That's this one here. Come on. There's a page all about how we're offering Siteglide to BC partners. So a bit of information about it, and then probably quite an important topic that I imagine is going to come up, which is pricing. So just very quickly on this, it will be the Platform-OS pricing. So it's the $50 per month plan that Platform-OS are offering as the entry level, with actually monthly billing via Stripe. So we're offering monthly billing on that. The usage limits are about half I think they're exactly half the core Platform-OS one. So it's not exactly the same, but Adam's been pretty fair on those, and I think it'll take a while on a pretty medium-sized site to hit those limits. So you benefit from all the Siteglide CMS and functionality that you can use but don't have to use. You could use it to build and then stop using it. You could not build with it and then use it for client editing. It's totally up to you, but you can license instances through us and then have the complete flexibility of whether to use it or not. And essentially it's I won't say free, but it's the same price as as Platform-OS directly. So that's hopefully and we're going to make sure we continue that. If anybody signs up this year and becomes a partner, then you get that price for at least 2019, and then from new sites onwards we'll keep looking at what we can offer and keep improving it.
I think from some of the comments, just to it's important to note that this is the approach that Siteglide are using is one that isn't painting you into a corner. It's one that, as you want to, and you know, feeling overwhelmed when you look at Platform-OS, and we're so technically focused on APIs and the big bright future, that we don't look at the immediate pain of BC partners that have been used to a really simple, easy website creation and management tool. So Siteglide's filling that gap in a big way, but not limiting you to the power. If you want to go down further and start to build incredible, amazing things, you can. So I think this is for those that have been daunted by some of the technical propeller head speak that we've been banding around at Platform-OS. Siteglide's speaking the language of a large majority of BC partners who just want to get on with the job of building their agency, but knowing that you can go deeper as and when you land those bigger clients and those more technically challenging ones, and not needing to have a third-party service set up to manage APIs and cross-connect and do all of that stuff. You can do it all. So it's pretty awesome. I'm really, really impressed with the team. Sorry, Luke.
No, sorry, carry on.
Okay. And I just also wanted to highlight that because we're right on the hour now, we're going to be opened up to more questions, and it looks like there's a lot of questions here that are coming through. Like, what about email marketing? We are built on the same technology that HubSpot builds their email marketing service, which is called SendGrid. So we're natively integrated with SendGrid. And the email marketing capabilities of SendGrid, using the SendGrid campaign tool, can be seamlessly added into the platform as well. So you can use SendGrid, you could also use MailChimp, you could also use Active Campaign, you could also use Campaign Monitor. They're all API connectivities that can extend, and we're also building a GUI over the top of our SendGrid implementation as well. Maybe Siteglide will beat us to that. Or maybe there's a new module that somebody's going to add as a private module that you might pay a one-time fee so that you can get a HubSpot-like experience inside your system, and you're paying a little bit extra per month for that partner's module. So email marketing is already built in. We have an article on how that works with SendGrid, but I believe you're using Active Campaign, Luke.
Yes.
So all of those things are available within the platform for integration. We're also got a question around, the question was asked about email accounts. And so Robert's answered, yep, we offer IMAP and POP email accounts. So that's all. I think you're familiar with how that all works through BC. Can you please discuss e-commerce a little?
Essentially. Yeah, sure. So I thought that was probably a good time to move on to the roadmap side of it. So if you sign up for the community, if you've not already done it, there's all of this information in there, and you're more than welcome to go through it, ask any questions, and even submit some features. So on the page before, we're suggesting that people add features in. So there've been quite a few added, but we're now going to do it at a top level so that people can vote on them, and we can make sure that we release the right features for people. But here's the roadmap. In July we released the sort of bare bones. Last week we released the some of the new features, sort of forms, and the cases page, and some of the web app upgrades and file manager. So things that are coming would be secure zones, modules that we're going to build, more views in terms of CRM, far more sorting and functionality with web apps. So I'm jumping around a bit. Categories, it's a pretty big one. And then October, we're looking at proper SSO integration with ActiveCampaign. So currently it integrates form-wise, but then you'd have a seamless experience in terms of not having to log in for any customers using ActiveCampaign. Some sort of payment options through Stripe. And then e-commerce, I know that's the big one in the chat, and it is a big topic, and obviously it was very powerful to have that as part of BC rather than having to run a separate platform for your e-commerce. And yes, Adam's, I'm sure, going to jump in on this and be able to give far more information. But with Platform-OS being for marketplaces, it's obviously going to be extremely powerful on that front. And we can already see what we can do in terms of access and flexibility. Did you have anything on that,
Adam? Just the question that has come up a few times around e-commerce, and I can just highlight, I'll share my screen very quickly just to show some proof points around one of our old admins, just to say, hey, we are doing e-commerce, and plenty of it. The Vault is an example of sophisticated e-commerce, which came up in a question earlier. The idea to be able to either purchase or rent dresses, which are specific to, let's see, my size. I'm a size 6, everybody. This is like Rent the Runway, by the way. It's a marketplace where we can upload our high-end ladies' fashion. This is all fully built on Platform-OS. And as far as the purchasing and rental, let's say we're renting versus purchasing, we can do that, set delivery dates, we can specify cancellation fees, a whole bunch of things, and shipping providers. We've built a framework so that we can add new shipping providers very seamlessly to integrate with any shipping provider. And we've done that in a way that allows the community to get involved in the development of that, in the same way that our payment gateways as well. When we add a new payment gateway, already integrated is a bunch, and eWay for Australia is on the way. Authorized.net, Braintree Marketplace, PayPal, Stripe, Spreedly, Stripe Connect, WorldPay, offline payments. The list goes on and on. The way that we've built that framework is so that specific developer partners can also add their own. Maybe they become a private module where you have to pay for that payment gateway to be activated. Who knows? But the frameworks are there, and e-commerce allows for that kind of sophistication. Offline payments. The idea of offline payments is so that you might want to handle the payment completely separately. Maybe it's on account. So you don't force people through adding to cart and a checkout process that needs a credit card payment. You might pay on account. The entire e-commerce functionality is as flexible as Liquid and GraphQL. So you can do some cool things there. I'll stop sharing my screen, and Any questions that I've missed? Yeah,
I didn't
think
really give
custom
a proper.
e-commerce.
Yeah, I didn't give a proper answer on our side of e-commerce. We put it in our roadmap as November. E-commerce is a big job, so we have to be careful on that, and we want to work with partners to understand the requirements in the UI for e-commerce, but everything is possible out of the box directly on Platform-OS. So if you have an immediate requirement for a project, then it can be done. It's just we need to work with you and try and understand what to make available in the UI, essentially. So I wouldn't plan in any projects for November using the UI, but we're trying to give you an idea of what we're working on when and prioritization.
And there was a question from Mark at New Hampshire about point of sale solutions for a brick and mortar store. The idea of point of sale is completely doable because it's an API access. So whatever you build, whatever Siteglide is providing and building on their UI has APIs. And in terms of that form for submission of a web app item, that could be done on a mobile app. It could be done on a cash register that's been programmatically designed to talk securely to the same API that the secure checkout functionality might be. So inventory control and all that sort of stuff. Totally you could build that. IoT, Internet of Things, you would put a cash register as one of those Internet of Things connected devices and use the same API access. Oh, and there was a question around themes. The idea around public and private folders where the community produce and either give, sell, or subscribe access to their modules would include themes as well. So think of themes as part of a module. The theme could be this design using this Bootstrap or Foundation or Vue or React, Node, whatever front-end framework, and you give it away because you're a nice person. Or you sell it for $50, or you allow people to use it on a subscription basis. Totally available. There's no constraints on the front-end design. And the idea of themes is something that Siteglide are going to continue adding to.
Yeah, could I just jump in on that very quickly? We have a concept or a way of working when we're building sites for clients called a design system, which people are probably familiar with. But we want to offer this and include it as part of Siteglide, but we would probably want some partner input on it. But essentially, we just build everything as modular elements rather than templates, because I don't know how much you guys have found this, but you ask a client which template they want, and then you end up making it look closer to another one, and it would have been start from scratch. So what we do is we wireframe elements and layouts. So if you're doing a particular section and the client likes that, or you think it suits the brief, then you end up getting all of these different wireframe elements and piecing them together as a wireframe page and site. And then before you know it, it turns into the beta site that we've got now. So these are all designed from individual elements from our design system. So we're building, they're all built using Bootstrap, and we expect to make those available as parts of Siteglide. Does that make sense? I don't know if I rushed that. Having said that, we don't want to stop the community doing something potentially even better or a better use case for a certain type of project. So this is just an idea we have, and it's our workflow. But using the way Adam's setting everything up with private and public modules, people could do templates, people could do a completely different approach to a design system even, and layouts.
And just for those wondering, about certain functionality that you need before end of life, and by the time you're ready to migrate certain clients, everything will be in place. I would say, give it a few more months and you'll see even more and more and more. And particularly with other partners coming in, building modules that could be complementary to what Siteglide are doing, that will be accelerated. But before it's time to turn off the servers over at Adobe, you will have a lot of choice, not just on us and not just with Siteglide. There's a lot of options out there. We just like to focus in on where we believe the future is, and Siteglide are aligned in that, and others in the Platform-OS community. So we know that you're in good hands wherever you go. And what I'd like to also just note is that, in terms of next steps, did you go over that already, Luke? The next steps?
Kind of. I was just gonna chuck some of them in the chat just so that people have them. So there's a community one going in now, and that page with all the information as well. And what else do we have?
We're going to send out an invitation, as Adam Cook and Scott have been kicking off for some time now. We've got, is it our 18th town hall? I can't remember. You guys are just crushing it. So we're going to invite everybody to come and join our town hall, and that will be really useful for people who are wanting to get into a bit more of the technical nuts and bolts, and also help steer the ship, particularly around where you're wanting to build a SaaS solution, or help with Siteglide in the way they want to build modules as well and integrate to the Platform-OS module framework. So we'll be inviting you there. Bardia Houseman, my co-founder over at Business Catalyst, will be joining us as a guest. He's obviously a close friend and confidant with me. Actually is on our board of advisors as well. So he'll be popping his head in the weeks ahead to Town Hall to say hello to everybody. And there's some links that are coming through. BC Sandpile has been an amazing resource, just to echo Karim's points there in chat. Dave, you might want to end on a few notes. Don't let me capitalize on this. And Luke, of course, if you've got some points you want to just highlight here. And to echo what I said earlier, I would like to help with a Zoom account for whoever is, or whichever group is going to take on Sandpile into the future.
Thanks very much, Adam. Yeah, at this point, it's under consideration. Who knows if it'll go through final or not. Luke, if you could send me your either the full presentation or just the last page, I'm happy to post that with the meeting notes.
Brilliant,
and that might be a little simpler than trying to paste all those all those links in. Very
Sure.
cool. And I appreciate everyone's attendance today. It's as the last Sandpile, maybe might have been nice to go out with fireworks and champagne or something similar, but I think what has been provided is actually better, because I think it's hope. And that's probably more necessary than the rest. So unless someone has something else, I'm happy to leave the room open for a little while longer. If folks want to ask more questions or just chat, that's good. But I'm finished with the Sandpile today, and finished with the Sandpile going forward.
Yeah, Dave, I just want to say thanks again to Dave for taking Sandpile for the last year by himself. Before, we had like 4 or 5 people managing it, and Dave's been handling it all by himself for the last year, even when after the end of life. So I think kudos to Dave. If there was a Hall of Fame for BC, I would definitely nominate Dave Hagblad. Oh,
we're passing the hat around for an Amazon gift card for Dave. It's a surprise, so don't tell him.
Yeah, thanks. Nice.
And the town hall, we're definitely going to be sending out a link. So if you guys want to join the Platform-OS town hall in a couple weeks, will be the next public one. We'll be sending something out.
Cool. And as a reminder, if the group that's thinking about taking over the Sandpile and morphing it into something else, if they go ahead with that, then you'll likely get one more email from the Sandpile email distribution list, if you will, just announcing that and letting you know how you can participate. I'm hopeful. I love the community, and I'm hopeful that these folks can find a way to make it work. So, yes, another famous teaser, Scott Reynolds. Yes.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Dave. Luke and I and others will be hanging out in the room for any other questions that come through. But brilliant, Dave. The bass, are you going to play us a riff before you go out? Cole, go and get the guitars, quick. Come on.
Yeah, there you go, yeah. No, the bass is for me to learn yet. I've been playing more of the other guitar stuff, but not quite ready for prime time. Still Still taking lessons, actually.
Right. Well, I'm thinking there's a couple of questions that have been missed. Scrolling through the chat, it's pretty lively there. If your question hasn't been answered at this point, please feel free to repost it, and we'll do our best to get through it, answer it best as we can.
There was a question on white label just now, and yeah, it's something I haven't mentioned. So yes, it's something we didn't plan to do. The main reason for that was that we felt trying to manage your own platform is more hassle than it's worth. But having spoken to a few partners about it, which is the whole point of this feedback and the beta testing, it is an important thing to at least have co-branding, but maybe for white label. And thanks to the POS team, we've come up with a way of doing that. So yes, you'll be able to put your logo. It won't be straight away, but be able to put your logo in, and essentially, like on BC, you go /admin or admin dot or something, where you essentially run it off the client domain, and emails can be sent out from the client instance as well. So we can effectively do full white label.
I've just had an anonymous tip on who might be taking on Sandpile. I don't know who they are. As I said, it was an anonymous tip, but I couldn't think of better people to do that. And my endorsement and 100% support for them is well behind. Dave's shaking his head, so I'm very excited to learn of that, and just reconfirm our commitment to supporting you. And as that will be platform agnostic, we won't be having it's nothing that we're going to be pushing our barrow down. So it'll be an totally open forum, just like Sandpile has always been. But let me say that Town Hall Platform-OS will be product focused. Just expect that.
Just seeing a few questions here. So yes, thanks to the way that Platform-OS have done the partner portal, you can have, I think it's unlimited tiers. Is that right, Adam? You can have sub-partners and sub-partners. So effectively, there could be a way of doing that.
Yes. Yeah. If that was a question I missed, that's correct. You can have any number of partner portals and sites allocated to those partner portals, and then you can have users assigned to your partner portal for your developers. And in the case of teams like Siteglide and others that have upwards of 80 staff working on things, they're allocating different teams to different sites, and you don't necessarily want all of your team accessing all of the sites under your partner portal. And then maybe you want to have a discrete situation where one of the sites within your partner portal needs another developer, channel partner to work on it. You've got somebody who's really good on a particular bit of functionality. They don't need access to all of the sites in your partner portal, just one particular site. So there'll be discrete access there as well. Somebody asked a question about price, and that's always a question. We're setting a bar at $50 a month, and there'll be a there'll be a euro and an Australian dollar amount for that. We're setting up the bank accounts at the moment, so that's easier for you to be able to pay that way. As far as going down, there's a certain point where the value of the product repositions itself, and Weebly, Wix, Squarespace, Umbraco, those type of solutions fill a niche, and we're not sure that we want to compete at that level. We think that the value is elsewhere, and so there are alternative solutions. That said, let's see what happens in 6 months' time. There's going to be some exciting things. I've never seen technology get more expensive, put it that way. Everything gets faster, better, cheaper. Usually you can only pick two of those things, but with technology, as we know, it doesn't. And as you've seen with our clients like Intel, Hallmark, DB Schenker, big enterprise clients, one in particular had $1 million contract on the block with a very large enterprise-grade content management / marketplace engine. $1 million set up and $15,000 a month. And they tore that contract up. And they're building it now with a couple of our channel partners and on Platform-OS for a lot less. And then there's the sort of the value that the platform provides is allowing us to pull down the price at the enterprise level. And we just want to set a floor because you can always go cheaper. I can get $5 a month hosting on GoDaddy. Why can't you have a plan for that? So we're just trying to position ourselves at that mid to upper end of things with the power for you to grow. Franchise clients. I saw the word franchise, my eyes beamed up. The many-to-many model is exactly the kind of model that a franchise group wants, and not in a hacky way like Magento does, but specifically architected as a many-to-many multi-vendor franchise model with full creative control over each individual franchisee. But also restricting some of the business rules around that. We have examples with desks near me that you can take a look at, ping me separately, or ping Colin. Colin in stereo.
I didn't want to miss the CRM question quickly while I can see it. So we showed you cases very quickly. We can expand on that and show them in a different way. So show users and then cases, that kind of stuff. I think in terms of building a full CRM that's equivalent to, say, Salesforce or something, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to try and compete with some of the big players out there when you've got one of the easiest ways of integrating possible through Platform-OS. So forms can be submitted server-side. You can do everything through API. So we will probably focus on integrations first, as well as a basic CRM like we've started. If there's enough demand for it and there's a client project or something like that that warrants it, then that's something I wanted to say actually. The great thing here is that as more and more people build things, or more client projects mean that there's new functionality and new features, they will just become part of Siteglide and therefore Platform-OS. So it will just keep expanding, and you might find that there are features that we said just we weren't going to do that suddenly become available because the projects have warranted it.
And just in line with the idea of the public-private modules, there are also other partners developing CRM functionality in the same way that we have CBO developing a learning management system, which was a hybrid build on BC with a global client. They're moving it entirely on Platform-OS. So we'll see those sorts of solutions, CRM solutions and others. I guess for Siteglide, the focus on being able to offer the Business Catalyst partner community what they're used to working with now is where they want to focus their energy and efforts so that they can help you migrate to a more scalable solution as quickly as possible, ticking all the boxes that your current clients are already used to.
To answer Alexandra's question, this is quite an important one. That you wouldn't, if the site got far bigger and it had been built on Siteglide, you wouldn't need to move it away from Siteglide. You would just use Platform-OS more. So you have direct access to that from day one. So you wouldn't move it anywhere. There wouldn't be any work to do. You just might stop using Siteglide, or you might use it for some bits and not others, or you might end up building custom modules into Siteglide. So it's we're not putting in blocks where at some point you've then got to upgrade or do something else.
Some of the questions I've had asked privately around SSL and DNS. So all of that's built in, seamlessly integrated. So when you've got clients are going to go live, an SSL certificate is automatically able to be generated. It's then approved. You have to approve that you are the owner, or that the client is the owner of that domain. It's then automatically allocated against the load balancer for that site. And then it's seamless. Same with DNS. We integrate with the DNS capabilities of Amazon Web Services, which has pretty much 100% uptime around DNS control. So you have full access to all of your A records, C names, text, server, whatever DNS records you need to control, you can. And good question. Mark asked, can you also support EV SSL? So the beauty of the solution is that you can generate and get a free SSL certificate, but if you want to use an EV certificate or any other third-party certificate, you can upload the public, private, and chain keys that go up and are stored in the Amazon encrypted managed certificate service, and then that can be allocated against the load balancer instead. So yes, you can do EV SSL and any other type that conforms with SSL standards. Good question. Oh, Colin's just made a note, Ursula, and I think there was another that relates to the referrals. By the way, the pricing as well at this point for Business Catalyst community members is different from what we are advertising externally. We are not going to market with the $50 price. That is not going to be available to non-BC partners at this time, unless Ursula refers them and yourselves. But yeah, we're going to be going out as at a premium on the price that we currently have. And you may have seen on the Platform-OS site, $1,000 a month. What? I can't afford that. That's fair enough for a lot of small clients. That's the case. But our focus being on mid to enterprise, we've been able to do that, and it's a whole different realm. We hope to move a lot of you into that space. Do 50 mid-size and enterprise clients versus 1,000 very small sites, and it makes up for it. But that said, there's a lot of small businesses out there, and that we do want to cater to them. We just won't be publicly advertising. That will happen through our channel partner network, like Siteglide and others over time. Those who are adding value to the community in terms of development, support, commitment, they'll be accessing special pricing that will allow them to go to market at a different price break.
And our pricing won't be public either, so partners can price however they need to. So our pricing will be different to partners, BC partners, than other agencies, but no pricing will be public on the website. Is it possible to get a extract of the chat, by the way? I know I've clicked save, but just in case I miss any questions and can get back to people.
Yeah, I believe that's possible, Luke. I'll send it to you.
Okay, thanks.
Any more questions, thoughts, ideas? Throw some curly ones out there. What's the infrastructure? What about, how scalable is it really? Any questions? A good question. How scalable is it really? Adam Cook, unbelievable. All right, no, you are totally believable. Yes, I am a size 6, Adam, so I'll get that T-shirt in size 6, please, Robert. And in terms of the structure that we're using, containerization is a word that you might hear bandied around. Microservices is another terminology that you might hear bandied around. So at the core, we're building everything so that it can be massively scalable. And as an example of the file upload direct to the storage area, where we automatically scale based on how many file uploads are happening, we're using AWS, but the way we've designed it so that we can also deploy to Google Hosting, Microsoft Azure, or discrete ISPs, like one in New Zealand that might be coming online with 3 dedicated data centers. More on that later. But the idea is that, yes, we will be able to scale up existing infrastructure as a service providers, IaaS. We are then the platform as a service, and then the software as a service is an example being Siteglide. Now, something that Luke probably didn't call out, or maybe did, but it was briefly, is that we have a concept of multiple environments per site. So you could have a beta, a QA environment, a staging environment, staging 2 environment, staging 3 environment, and production. And the reason why we don't use SFTP is because most people use version control repositories to make sure that their code is pushed into a direction, being maybe a QA server, a staging server. It can be played with, signed off by the client, and then pushed to production, particularly after a site's gone live. You know, you've probably been there where somebody's changed something and deleted a web app thing, or gone and mucked around with code, and you don't have the rollback feature on everything inside BC. The great thing is that you can be pushing to staging or QA and have the client go in and test and sign off and move it to production later. So the idea of trial sites takes on that approach. So we can have different server environments that are stood up specifically for test and staging sites. And it doesn't need to go on our production environment servers, which have a much higher cost because they're a different set of servers. Also, that said, if need be, and some customers may want HIPAA compliance, they may need a specific region like China supported, and they need Platform-OS to be stood up in that region. We can deploy to any AWS region right now, EU, Oz, multiple US locations, Singapore. Just look at the list of AWS regions. That's at a push of a button. Boom, we're there. For those early adopters, there may be a premium on that. That's something you can talk to Siteglide about. Hey, I need to have servers in China because they're firewalling my client otherwise. That is something that we can deploy, but we'd be in discussions with you and Siteglide if you wanted to use the Siteglide solution in that environment. Any other questions that we've missed? Still 51 people in the room. There's got to be some questions that have been missed. Oh, somebody asked me privately, what if I build my site on Duda and then I just want to push it up? Yeah, it's just HTML code at the end of the day. So being able to take code from Weebly, take code from anywhere and push it up, as long as it's reasonably standards compliant, that you'd be proud to have somebody look at. That'd be my only caveat, is how clean is the code. But you could take a site from Duda and push it up. Where they're using modules, they would need to be converted. And as Scott Reynolds just demoed some time ago, he was able to take a BC web form, cut, paste, deploy, and it just worked. Building those little migration options will be something I'm sure we'll see in the marketplace, in the module marketplace on Platform-OS.
I think a really good example of that for maybe more design-based agencies would be using something like Webflow to design and build, do the export because that's what they built it for, and then build into Platform-OS. It might be the long way around, but it might suit some partners better depending on their expertise. But it's definitely possible.
Hey, yeah, for those of you who stayed up late at night, like Luke and Robert and any other people in the UK that's late at night, really appreciate that. It's tough to sort of sit through talking heads nonstop, information overload, drink from the fire hose, as it were. So we really appreciate everybody that had to stay up late. As you can probably see, the sun is still shining here, so I didn't have to have too much of an issue with that. But for those that are hanging on by a thread, thank you. There was a question about how do they continue the conversation with you, Luke, around Siteglide. So maybe you want to just highlight that again. There's your name, Luke at Siteglide, or via Intercom on
Yeah.
your site.
I think the community's a really good place. So I would definitely recommend signing up there, and then you can do private messages on there. You can post in the relevant sort of places if it's a feature request, perhaps. Email's absolutely fine, but we just tend to find that either Intercom or the community is a better place for things not to get lost with quite a few people getting in touch. That's a good question. Oh, sorry.
No, that's all right. Go, Luke.
It's a private one to me, actually, Adam. It's will there be something like this JSON, sort of liquid that we had in BC, and there are other things from BC like globals that I've been asked about. We haven't talked about this yet.
Oh, so yes and yes. The idea is, and Adam Cook might be able to throw his. Is he still here, Adam? You're very quiet.
I've been being sarcastic in the chat for the last half hour, so I'm busy.
Okay. Yeah. I'm so used to it. I'm sort of blind to that sarcasm now. But global variables, access to all data through as a JSON API. Basically, what you can do when you create a web page, you can define it as a JSON page, as a HTML page, as a liquid page, as a whatever page, an RSS feed if you wanted to. You could have something.html.rss, and the output will be based on the file type that you want outputted. So you can grab anything from the back end and push it out as an API endpoint that's all a JSON payload. On the page side of things, having global variables declared and passing those through. Adam, do you want to talk to what you've been working with the team on in terms of that?
On globals, like just in general?
Yeah, just in general. You know, what can you access on the page if you're wanting to do some really sophisticated, cool stuff and multi-form page submissions, doing accessing the HTTPF referrer, the headers, metadata that you define.
You just answered like the question. So there's lots of things. I mean, and what's actually been cool is as BC partners have been coming into the platform and they're saying, hey, where's this feature I'm used to? And hey, where's that feature I'm used to? They've been getting added. So it's not like added in the same way that BC does it. It's just like, hey, that's true. We didn't have that piece of information available. And an example of that would be globals. You know, for example, we have globals in Business Catalyst that we can access via Liquid. And that would give us site information or page information, URL information, stuff like that we could use. And that wasn't accessible right away when we got in there, but now there is a context object, and that has everything there page-wise and user-wise. And then from there, they have GraphQL, which allows you to grab any information that's in your site, anything, and have it formatted in any way that you want and presented to you. It's like having your own module tag. You can choose module anything. So it's a little more flexible.
Thanks, Adam.
Did I answer that correctly? Did it? Maybe I missed it. I just talk.
Sounds good to me. I think for some people they'll be like, okay, it's good to know. It's a tick in the box, and that is a good thing to know for those who want to get in at that level of the data on a page. And we mentioned GraphQL, and Liquid Markup, of course, is a Shopify invention that was open sourced. It's just a rendering engine. If we want to switch out and add additional rendering engines, that's not an issue for Platform-OS. We've designed it that way. The same thing with GraphQL. GraphQL was open sourced by Facebook for their graph query language. It's taken off like wildfire. So imagine a company that's invested, let's say tens of millions, probably pushing towards $100 million in technology, like specifically GraphQL, developed so that you could put the power of development, business logic, and speed and performance into the hands of front-end developers without exposing the core code base. Now it's just gone wildfire, and it was an investment we made very early, and glad we did. Other things that are important: Liquid, GraphQL. Oh,
can I?
Yep.
No, sorry. I know that once we start talking about GraphQL and other technologies that we're using, it can start sounding scary, especially to the semi-coders, the people who are like, they like to dabble in it, but they don't feel like they can just jump in. They hear these and it sounds like, oh no, I don't know how I can get my head around this. It sounds really technical. But yeah, Craig's saying I'm scared. But if you probably thought that at the beginning of Liquid too. And to some, there are certain parts of Liquid that are, but in general, you can use it. You can get around in Business Catalyst. And that's going to be the same thing with these other technologies that we have too. They're not actually scary. If they were scary, people wouldn't be using them on the level that they are. They're very widespread because they're not scary, because they give a lot of power without having to get super knowledgeable in coding. So there's still front-end technology or front-end solutions. There's still things that front-end developers or front-end editors or whatever can get used to using and understand.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that's where Siteglide are filling that gap to take the fear away. If you're scared, I know it was a bit of sarcasm there, Craig. I know you're not really that scared, but it's a learning curve, and to not have to go through it right now while you're busy wanting to migrate your clients or start to build sites is a really important point. And we would like to ease people into that. And as Luke has said time and time again, you're not being shoehorned into a solution that you have to stick with. You're actually getting the full power. So if you want to drill in and get access and start building things with all that other funky, scary-ish stuff, you can. But that doesn't mean that takes you away from using Siteglide as a solution at the same time. So you can dip your toe in the water. There's going to be there already is, there's a huge community. If you're not part of the inner circle, we'll discuss that in Town Hall tomorrow, those of you who join. And you'll have access to quite a lot of very technically knowledgeable people who will not just share concepts, but also help work on solutions for your clients. And so that's part of the upcoming marketplace that we're going to be launching. And that marketplace will allow you to connect with other partners, dedicated developers, public and private modules. And we've based that off of our own technology. Currently, you'll see that one of our sites is on HubSpot still. That's all going bye-bye. We've, migrating all of that over to our platform. We're also launching our community site, which will have the same feel to it as Facebook in terms of not the look, but the feel as far as activity feeds, being able to create public, private, secret groups, collaborate together, list yourself as a Platform-OS partner. We'll be using a learning management system that we're going to integrate into the community and the marketplace, so that those who work through modules and get accredited will also then be able to share that as part of their profile, so that the wider world, because we're going after Magento, we're going after Magento big time, by the way, since they got acquired by Adobe. Don't tell Adobe. Shopify, of course, we're already talking to some partners at Shopify because of Liquid. And then accreditation will be a very important part going into 2019, and the accreditation process through the learning management system will make sure that the wider world that finds out about Platform-OS, and this is something Business Catalyst did about year 5, was clients were saying, hey, I need you to build on BC. We'll be doing the same approach that Twilio has done, is that, hey, talk to your web developer and web designer, your marketing agency, about building on Platform-OS. And so having accreditation will be important there in the coming years. So we're seeing a lot of early adopters now, and will be an overnight success, 5 years in the making. And we hope that many of you will get skill up as you go down the stack, and start moving into app development and IoT development and all sorts of cool things. And there'll be modules, and there'll be a community to support you. Time to list publicly. That's a good point. Something that people have talked about with our acquisition, and Barty and I did not sell BC intending it to end of life. That was not anything that we expected. That was a shock to us. Something that came up was, well, how does the community benefit from the effort that they put into building a community? Amazon gift cards may not cut it necessarily. how do you get a skin in the game? So the idea of publicly listing may be one of those things. IPO is always something that every entrepreneur has in their future sites. There's other things that are coming out like initial coin offerings, ICOs. Now, I'm not saying that we're doing that. I'm just using this as an example. There's alternatives to investment, and token sales is one of them. I think what we will be doing is not focusing in on token sales and an ICO or IPO at this point. We'll be focusing in on a token that can be used as a utility within the community. And because we are very familiar with how blockchain works, we will be ensuring that in 2019, the reward system, BC points, remember those good old days? The reward system built on something like a blockchain token will have a very high likelihood of coming out, not as an ICO, but as something that will allow points to accumulate to be used elsewhere. Oh, yes, for plane tickets to Platform-OS events. Is there a name for that token, Anthony? Not yet. A posse. We've actually got a world-class designer that's coming on board. And just as a sneak peek, those of you who are familiar with the Twitter fail whale, let me just share where that came from. Yiying Lu is a UX UI rebranding expert, the Twitter fail whale, and there's Conan O'Brien, and there's a whole bunch of rebranding exercises here that she will take you through. She loves what we're doing and has taken us on as a client. She works with Disney and big brands and is hugely in demand and is award winning. And she's working on the Platform-OS brand. So maybe we'll get her to put a dog on a coin or something for us at the same time. There's a reference for Jackson Palmer, who invented Dogecoin. Jackson Palmer, of course, being one of our team back in the day and still at Adobe. Hey, Jackson, you better be watching this all the way through for this second hour to get your name up in lights. Any other questions, thoughts? A lot of tokens for airfares. Jack's asked Luke if you could do a recording of a migration of a BC site. Probably one of the more difficult points of that is the migration of web app, for example, something you might be able to show sooner or later.
Yes, I mean, we focused on building the platform first, like the bare bones and the basics, and then looking at migrations. And we're literally starting that. We've started that this week, and we've got a few projects that we're going to start. So I think that will come out in the coming weeks. We'll show you how those migrations are going. We'll do case studies, and we'll start to learn how we can help people do that better.
There was a question Anthony asked, does Platform-OS have a geo-based content delivery? Every site is part of the AWS content delivery network. So that's all good and doable. In fact, some of the file upload options that we provide, you could actually use external file upload provider, and it will automatically link that file asset to an object that's in the database as well. So you could be serving files from various other CDNs if you wanted to. But yeah, a CDN is built in by default. So yes, it will deliver content as close as possible.
I'm going to leave the room up here, Adam, but I got to take my dog out to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
I think I've got to do the same. I'm the dog.
I think we just reached a milestone. When you've been in Sandpile so long that people are having to exit to have a break, to take their dogs to the bathroom, we've done a good job.
Is that a euphemism? Don't know. But back to geo-based content delivery, we also use Elasticsearch clusters across the board as well. So you can do geo searches on content, data, anything with a latitude, longitude. If you're using Google Maps or any other mapping software now that Google charges more for their API access, you could store the lat long of geotagged content, including image uploads and the metadata associated with an EXIF file on an image. So imagine being able to index all of that and search for images, content, web app items geographically on a scale that would break other systems. So yeah, being able to search geographically as well as geo-based content delivery has just prompted me.
No, Adam, I meant a real dog, see?
Oh.
Not what you meant. It's not a euphemism. I'll be back.
Well, I, for one, am glad he cleared that up.
Yeah. And by the way, that was Anthony asking that question, Dave, when you're listening from me. It's like, what is Adam asking? That is a euphemism. I was just... And read content. The read content, another really cool thing you can do with content, and user-generated content in particular, is to create a awesome SEO experience. Let me just show you a incognito browser. I'm just doing this because you're hanging around. I'm going to fill some time before I have to run in 3 minutes or so. Let's say, and I've shown this demo a few times, Spare Desk, San Francisco. And this is what Siteglide are building on. So there's Spare Desk. This is Desk Near Me. There's Share Desk, Pivot Desk, Liquid Space. Very, very well-funded, expensively developed code on those marketplaces. Desk Near Me is on Platform-OS. And what you can do is a search engine marketer might want to identify a bunch of keywords that should be on your site. Now, what you can do is New York lease a workspace for a day was a keyword set that the SEM person said, you need to have that. We got an ad, we got an ad, we got an ad. We've got Desk Near Me, the top 2 organic listings here. We beat Liquid Space, we beat Breather, we beat WeWork, we beat all the big billion-dollar funded businesses on SEO, and we don't even spend a cent on it. These landing pages are created dynamically, and based on the URL, it will automatically inject content, whether it's blog content, listing content, web app content, product content, review content, comment content, any content onto the page. And that way you can build this sort of self-fulfilling prophecy towards Google SEO goodness. And all of this user-generated content now goes into this page. Google goes, that's cool. There's related links and breadcrumbs and all that. You've got creative control over this. So in terms of using geo-specific content on a landing page, Kelvinator refrigerators in San Mateo, California. Well, why shouldn't there be a landing page that has that and injects it all onto a page and then refers to other related pages? And then, having geo-specific content is very important for marketplaces. So we built that, and this happens to be a really cool article around using that in creating SEO-friendly URLs, and how to set that up so that you can have catalogs that are geo-specific or category-specific. This is drilling into a little more of the deeper parts of things. Siteglide will assist with that if that's something you don't want to do, but I just wanted to highlight it because it came up as a question. But everything's easy to use when you use Siteglide. Yes, you can dominate local SEO. We've proven it time and time again. We're doing it for the vaults. Liquid Space, which got nearly $30 million in funding. I know the product manager there. They were quite a bit lower than us, and we've shared with them how we went about doing it, but not everything. So that they're now just below us. We still hit them. And it's all white hat. There's no black, grey hat SEO stuff going on there. There's no link farm building. All right.
Neil just got here, so I think you should start over.
Wow, Neil. You'll have to watch the recording. It's been 2 hours, I think. Yeah, so backlinking, there's no crazy, nothing that would get you into trouble. unless you did it externally, linking to the site, and then you get into trouble. And that's where we have our load balancing set up so that we have dynamic IPs and we're not sharing one IP across gazillion sites in each data center. We're using proper load balancing, distributed denial of service attack stuff, all of that. So if you did have a site that wanted to do a whole bunch of dodgy stuff, they might get banned, but it won't affect everyone else. I have to run, everybody, so it's been amazing. Thank you so much for allowing me to be part of this last Sandpile. I do appreciate it. I know I don't represent BC formally anymore, but I do want to thank you from the bottom of my heart and Bardia's heart and Cole's heart and all of the team at BC back when. We wouldn't be here without you all. It was the partner community that made it, and it's the partner community that will make the future. So we're grateful to be part of that.
Thank you, everybody, for letting us show you what we've been doing and present. So yeah, and thanks for all the great feedback. Look forward to speaking to you soon.
And big thanks to Dave, yeah.
Yeah.
Cole, can you get me a beer, mate?